I wanted to talk a little bit about finishing your woodworking project because I get a lot of questions on what's the best finish to use, and it can also be really frustrating to put a lot of time into a project and then just not have such a great finish. So I'm going to give you what I think is probably the best finish for the particular project. Before I get to that, I just wanted to show you a project by Kyle Smith. This is the bedside table that I made a few months ago, and he just sent me an image of it, and I thought it came out great. So good work, Kyle, and thanks for sending me that image. If you have made a project based on one of the projects I've made here and you want to send it to me, I do have a contact on my website, and right now my website was just down and we're doing some work to it, but the hope is to have a page that's dedicated to a viewer's project. So I hope you'll check that out. So let's talk about finishing. Now, the first thing is, if you have a spray system, I think the easiest finish is lacquer. And it's very easy to use, and my recipe for lacquer is generally 2/3 of lacquer to 1/3 lacquer thinner, and I'm usually 3 or 4 coats, sanding in between coats, and then I'll always rub the finish out with wool-lube by Mohawk, and I've talked about that in the past. Now, if you don't have a spray system, and we're talking about fine furniture, this is something that you're really proud of, you've put a lot of time into, you're using a good wood like a cherry or a walnut or something like that, and you really want to show that grain, then I would use either Waterlox, this is a wiping varnish, or I would use Minwax Wipe on Poly. These are really easy to use and you get a nice finish. It does take a little while because you really need to build up the finish. When I'm using this finish, I usually use, I would say, between 4 and 6 coats. Now, if you're talking about a project that, let's just say a kitchen table, and you've put a lot of work into it, but you know that the top isn't going to get a lot of protection by either Waterlox or Minwax, what I do in a situation like that is I'll finish the base with one of these 2 finishes, and then the top, especially since I have 4 kids and I know that they're just going to beat that table up, I'll use a polyurethane, an oil-based polyurethane, and I've had really good luck with that. And the nice thing about using a polyurethane like that is you can use the table and maybe 2 or 3 years down the line just lightly sand the top and give it another coat of poly, and that seems to work really good. So that's my suggestion. If you really want to show the grain and have the nicest finish that you can without spraying, it's either Minwax Wipe on Poly or the Waterlox. Now, for shop furniture, and that's cabinets in the shop, or sometimes the interior of a cabinet, like I made a blanket chest a couple of years ago, and the inside I used a clear finish. For that, I like to use either this polyacrylic by Minwax, works great, and this aqua acrylic, I think. It's a water-based polyurethane by Czar. Both of these work really good. They dry fast and they're easy to use. The reason why I don't use a water-based finish on fine furniture, I feel like it doesn't pop the grain. I feel really the oil-based finishes really bring the beauty of the wood grain out. So anyway, I hope that helps. I always get questions on finishing, and I was just talking to a good friend of mine. He just finished a project, and that's pretty much the advice I gave him. I think he's going to go ahead and use the wipe on poly on the base, and it's a kitchen table, and he's going to use an oil-based polyurethane on the top. So I guess that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday.